Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to today's webinar on drill through. My name is Paul Lewis. I'm a planning manager here with Argonaut. A couple housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions as we go through the slides, please drop them in the Q&A, and if we can, we'll try to answer them at the end. And also, we are debuting a new platform for our webinar broadcast. So apologies in advance if there's any glitches. We don't anticipate any, but you just never know. So what's our agenda going to be today? We're going to talk about the basics, how to configure, including attributes, and using drill through in SmartView. As with many things in EPM, there could be other ways to go about configuring drill through. The steps I'm going through worked for my requirements. It's like all things EPM, there could be multiple ways. So keep that in mind. If you have other ways to do it, great. I'd love to hear about it. There's always opportunity to learn when it comes to EPM. First, some of the basics of drill through. Remember that we're only going to cover drill through of data loaded from a file and not drilling back to a source environment. That's a more advanced topic for another time. The load file can contain fields that are not loaded to planning, but are loaded to the staging table. We do this by assigning attributes in the mapping definitions. Drill through results can be viewed with a web browser or in Excel. When they're viewed in the web, the details can be downloaded to Excel for further analysis. And that would be the detail of the intersection drilled. From the drill through details, the source document can be downloaded and reviewed. That would be the entire file, not just the loaded intersection. Before we configure drill through, there's a new step that needs to be done so drill views are customizable. Oracle recently updated how drill views can be customized, and to use the feature, it needs to be set up in data management. This is the only step that we're going to be doing in data management. Everything else is going to be done in data integration. Parity between the two is close, but there's still a handful of things that are different between the two, and this is one of those where we're going to need to go to data management. So we open Data Management and go to the Setup tab, then System Settings. We're going to select the profile type of All or Other. And then for the drill type UI, use the selector to pick Simplified User Interface. Save it. And that's all we have to do in Data Management. Now we can configure drill through. From the Planning homepage, click on the application card and select Data Exchange. Then, from the Actions menu, select Applications. Then choose the application that you want to configure for drill through. If you don't have an application and load process set up yet, this will need to be done first. Now we get a page with the application details. This step can be confusing. On the Dimensions tab, you may be tempted to enable individual dimensions. That's what we did the first time we configured a drill through. We went through and we checked several of the boxes. But that's not necessary. By default, scenario, version, period, and years will be enabled when we get to the next step. So you don't need to do it here. We're just going to go to the Options tab and continue the configuration from there. There are two settings here to enable: drill region and enable drill from summary. Drill region is necessary. It has to be set to yes at this time. We'll be coming back to this later. Drill from summary is optional. Yes means parent members are drillable. If you only want drilling from level 0, set this as no. But we want it from parents, so we're going to set it to yes. Another item to point out here is summary drill behavior when more than 1,000 descendants. We want it to set to ignore, so we don't have a limit. Depending on your data set, you may want to limit that. The more data, it could impact drilling performance. When you're done with your settings, click Save, X out, and that'll take us back to the main page. We're almost done with this part of the configuration. We still need to run an integration so the drill region configure is complete. It can be any integration that uses the target application that we just configured for drill through. So we pick our load, and we're going to just do one period, January 21. We run it. This is a sample file, so it's pretty quick. So now after that successful load, we can do the next step. And we need to open Calculation Manager to do that. So go back to your navigator and open up Calc Manager. From Calculation Manager, open Database Properties, and then expand to the cube used in drill through configuration. Right-click on it and select Drill Through Definitions. This opens a window with those definitions. Notice that the regions show only scenario, version, period, and years. Remember that we did not select dimensions for the drill region and instead let the default dimensions be used. We're seeing specific members here because the data load file process only had these members. If the load contained other members, we would see those. For example, if it contained multiple months, we would see those extra periods, not just January. We need to modify this. So we click Edit. It brings up another window. And we're going to update the members selected. We want to include all years and periods. So we put that in. Notice that this upper section, the XML contents, just ignore that. We don't want to make any changes there. To be honest, I'm not sure what that does. We just don't touch it. So after we've edited our region, we click Save, and we click OK, and we can get out of Calc Manager. Now we need to go back to data integration to finish that configuration. So we go back into data integration, and we're going to go into application details and select our application. And what's going on? These are checked, and we specifically left them unchecked. Well, these are the default dimensions. And since we had drill region enabled on options, running the integration automatically enabled them. So now we need to uncheck them. Then we go to the Options tab, and we're going to change drill region to no. This is an important step. If we don't change this to no, the next run of the integration will overwrite the drill region we updated in Calc Manager. So we don't want that to happen, so we change this to no. Click Save, and we can get out of here. We're now done with this part of the configuration. We still need to address the attributes, though. Before we get to that, let's do a quick check with the Smart View ad hoc, and we can see that drill through is available. We know that because the cells that are drillable have a green border. So that outline indicates that it's drillable. And notice also, there's some parent members on here. So gross profit, total cost of sales, those also have the border, meaning those are drillable as well. So now on to the attributes. To have the additional information from the load file available, attributes need to be assigned to the integrations. So select an integration that has a target application configured for drill through and open to view the Map Dimensions tab. You can see that we've already assigned several attributes in this integration. If you click on the gear icon, which is over here on the right, that'll give you the option to add or delete attributes. So after you add an attribute, it's going to number them, attribute 1, attribute 2, etc. And you're going to assign those to the column number of your load file. So for attribute 1, we're assigning that to region, 2 is going population, and 3 is sales volume. I often just use whatever name is in the load file, the header row, whatever that column is named, that's what I name. That way it's easy reference back and forth. But you can name this anything you want. If possible, try not to use the same attributes in multiple integrations. So I'll try to explain this as clear as I can. Attribute 1, if we're using that in this integration, we don't want to use attribute 1 in another one. So say you use that in an integration for CapEx. Don't use it in an integration for revenue. When you use that same attribute, it can get confusing when you're looking at the drill through details with the column headers, depending on which integration you're drilling on. So we try to keep them unique. Recent configuration I did, a recent client, we use all 40 available attributes across multiple integrations to 4 different cubes in the application. So we divided those attributes across the integrations. So cube 1 had attributes 1 to 7, cube 2 had 8 to 20, and so on. Another note about attributes, if the integration is using attributes 8 to 20, say we're on cube 2 and we're using 8 to 20, you'll have to add attributes 1 through 7 on that integration before you can get to attribute 8 and start assigning it to a column. And then you have to delete the unneeded ones. It's a bit cumbersome, but it is worth it to keep those attribute numberings unique. Now we're going to go over to Smart View, because before we can use drill through in Smart View, we have to set options for how drill through will open. So when you go into your options, you go to the Advanced tab, and on the drill through launch line, there's a drop-down box, and your choices are to default it to a web browser, into a new sheet, or to be prompted to choose target. I like to be prompted because it depends on whether I want to drill and open a web view or a extra sheet in my file. So that's your preference there. So now let's look at the user experience. From a Smart View ad hoc form or a standard form, select a cell and right-click in it and select Drill Through. Or you can select Drill Through from the toolbar, and then you're going to select whether you want to go to web or to a new sheet, because that's the option that we selected. I think it's quicker to go to the ribbon instead of doing a right click, but again, personal preference. Also, another tip here, if you are using Chrome as your browser, be sure to install the extension Oracle Smart View for Office. All right, so that extra window is going to open the Drill Through Details page. From this page, you're going to see the columns assigned to the attributes. They're visible right alongside all the other dimensions. There's region, population, sales volume. To change this view, we go to the Edit pencil, And then we're going to select which columns we want to display. So the first thing I do is I usually clear off the selection pane, and then go through the members there, the columns, and select which ones I want in my view. And for this, I'm selecting the targets. And I'm going to select those attributes as well. So region, population, sales volume. And I'm going to throw in, I think, period and category as well. We're also going to rename one of these because I don't like that it says HSP view. So I click the edit button and I go to that field. Whoops, almost moved it. Change it. We're just going to call it view. If you have other changes, you make them. When you're finished, click the little plus icon and name the view. We're going to name this detailed drill. And it has to be one word, no spaces. You can use, should be able to use hyphens and underscores if you want. Then click the save icon to save that view and click OK. And now we can see that it came back with our detailed drill view, only the target columns that we selected and our attributes, as well as the period and the category. Now for other things you can do here, if you go on the header row to the ellipses, you can export this to Excel. You can look at the drill through log. There's information there. If you go to an individual row, you have the ability to drill through to the open the source document or to view the mappings. We don't want to select drill to source. We're not going to get anything there because we don't have a source. If we configure to go to a source application, that's what that would be for. But we didn't do that. We're only going back to the staging table, so we can export to Excel and we can view the mappings, etc., and open the source document. The drill can also go, like I mentioned earlier, directly to another Excel sheet. So if we do that, it's going to open another sheet. And the attribute columns are just included by default. You can see them in here. And there's other columns that are just included. So when you do it in Excel like this, you don't have the flexibility of the web. You can't change your view. This is what you get each time you do it. So that's one of the drawbacks, but it is quicker sometimes. You just want to get everything, just look at it in your file, and you can do that. And remember, from the web, you can download it to Excel and do further analysis from that. A brief mention of drilling from a web form. It's very similar as to drilling from SmartView. If you right-click on a cell, it's going to bring up the menu with drill through on it, or you can use the actions drop-down to get to it. A new tab will open, and from there, it's the same web view that's generated from SmartView, which also means you can customize that view any way you need to. And it might be hard to see in this picture, but a drillable cell on the web has a little fish hook in the upper right corner of the cell. So that's how you can tell if a cell is drillable, the fish hook. Some other oddities we've encountered with drill through. As weird as this may seem, at least to me, drill through is case sensitive. So when you configure a member mapping in the integration, be sure to accommodate the case of values in the load file. So as an example, and this did happen to me when I was configuring one, if the load file refers to version in all capitals as draft, 1, but the planning member is named draft 1 and it's only capitalized D, everything else is lowercase, you need to change the mapping. Otherwise, it's going to fail on drilling. So what we did is we took that all capital, we put a wildcard on it so it'll cover draft 1, draft 2, etc. And then the target is what the planning member name is. And we did the same for our other versions, final and working. The sources are all capitalized in the source, but our targets, which is in the planning application, are not capitalized all the way. So we had to map it accordingly. Another oddity, and this one is very unlikely, it's very uncommon that it's going to happen to you, but if it does, maybe you'll remember this and you'll know what to do. So if the same data is loaded from files using different integrations, then the drill through is going to create a combined report of all the staging tables. We discovered this when one of my teammates loaded forecast data with files generated from the legacy application, and I ended up loading the same forecast data using files that were provided from the client. So we each built our own integration and mistakenly didn't realize we were loading the same data. So the data in EPM Cloud Planning was accurate. The files had the same data, so either his load overwrote mine or vice versa. But when we drilled on it, the data was doubled because there were 2 staging tables involved, and they combined. So you can see, we're showing that the data loaded was 23.9 million, but when you drilled into it, it was doubled up. So when we downloaded those results to the web, downloaded from web to Excel, we were able to clearly see what was going on and that there were 2 staging tables because we had 2 different integrations going on. So the quick fix, we had to delete one of the staging tables in data management. Once only one table was available, drill through was correct, and only one set of data. We had to use data management for this, another one of those situations where there's not complete parity yet. I know that will be fixed eventually. We just don't know when. But we used data management, deleted one table, and that solved it. So to wrap up, drill through, in my opinion, I think it's pretty useful. I think it's pretty cool. You can have access to non-planning data to enhance analysis. I realize we used a very simple example in our data set, but you can get elaborate. As I mentioned in one of my recent configurations, we had 4 different cubes, 4 integrations to those cubes, and we were using all 40 attributes available. So it was rather complex. The client was very happy with it. They're able to drill on the loaded data depending on where they're at, what they're viewing, and they can get quite a few other sets of data to use in their analysis in addition to what's already in planning. I know they use it frequently to do that extra analysis. But with that said, you want to be careful with the larger data sets. The larger your data set, it could have an impact on drill performance. So keep that in mind. That's where it might be useful to limit your drill to 1,000 descendants instead of leaving it unlimited. And it could imply that you don't want to drill from parent or other different little variations in how you configure. SmartView is a great tool from which to use drill through. And I think, in my opinion, drilling to web provides a better experience, but totally up to user preference. If you like the way it just drops it onto a new sheet in Excel, then go with that. So that is our presentation. I don't know if we had any questions come in. Looks like we did. Uh-oh. Well, I'm sorry. I just saw this now that my screen may not have been visible. Nope, now I'm being told it was all good. Okay, well, that's good. So those were the two main questions. They were having issues with the screen. So if nobody else has questions, I hope you all found this session useful, and have a great day. Thank you for attending. Oh, wait, there are questions if anybody's still there. Looks like somebody's asking, possible to drill from an ASO cube? If the data is loaded directly to that ASO cube, and the data is in the staging table in data management, then yes. The key with what I have shown here is the data being available in the staging table within data integration. Another question here. Does drill through work for freeform? I want to say yes, but I have not tested that. I believe it should. If the data is loaded through data integration and it's in the staging table, then yes, it should be available in a drill through. Somebody asked, is this flat file only? Yes, this presentation was only from a flat file. If you want to drill back to a source system like your ERP, I did not cover that. That's a different configuration, and we did not go through that. And we have another one. Looks like it's not a full question. Somebody was still trying to type one out, so I'll be glad to wait a couple minutes here to see if they come in. Okay, oh, this is an interesting question. So on the doubling of the staging table when two files are loaded, what if you load one file with data, then load the same file but change the data on one row, and load the file again and change a different row? Okay, let me think through that. So it depends if you're using the same file and it's the same integration. When you load, you have the option to merge your data or clear it and load new data. So I think that would apply to this. If you've cleared it, then it's going to be whatever was in the latest file that you loaded. Otherwise, if you're appending or merging, then you're going to be doubling, tripling, etc. Is there going to be a session on drilling back to ERP? It's a great suggestion, and we will take that and see what we can do about holding a future session on that, because I agree that would probably be helpful. And let's see, knowing this isn't meant to cover drill through to source system, but is it possible to drill through to a subledger in ERP? Thinking, I believe how it would work, and I apologize, I could be way off on this, but I believe when you drill to a source system, say an ERP system, you're going to be logged in or log into that source system, and from there you would access the details if it went to a subledger, you would open that subledger as if you were, well, you would have to be the ERP provision to that application as well. Again, that's not my, I haven't done that type of a drill through configuration, so I would have to defer to those that have and have more experience with it. Okay, I think that might be it on the questions. And we will send this recording to everyone that that was here today. So you will have access to this recording for future reference. And I think that's going to be it. I don't see anything else coming in. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks for bearing with us as we tried this new platform. And have a great day.